Hey everyone, Cleo here and welcome to my channel. Today I will be talking through my 2018 TBR. Now before starting this channel at the end of August, I didn't really do TBRs that much, but I did have a monthly TBR. No, not a monthly, I had a yearly TBR. Now my yearly TBR is in no way structured, as in it was a concept that I introduced in 2017 to try and get me to read some of the books that have been on my shelf for so long and that I just keep postponing. So in 2017 I failed miserably. I don't know how many I read of them, but it was not a big success. In 2018, I'm afraid it's going the same direction. Now I'm hopeful, I'm expecting to get to 6 out of the 12 books, but yeah, that's like just passing, you know. So I'm hoping to reintroduce the concept in 2019 and to do it more structured, because when I look at my TBR this year, it actually contains 12 books. So what would be more logical than having a single book of this list every month? Why didn't I not think of that? Or if I thought of that, why did I forget about it? So the idea will be in 2019 to have a yearly TBR of 12 books, and each month I will have to get to one of those 12 books. So I'll be introducing the 12 books that are on my TBR this year. I will not be getting to all of them, but at least I can introduce them to you. I will go through the physical copies first. So from the list of 12 books, 8 of them I do have a physical copy to. 2 of them I think are already on my Kindle, and 2 I would still have to get. So it's pretty obvious that those 2 I will not be getting to. But so, without further ado, here are the 12 books that I wanted to get to in 2018. Now the first one is A Tale of Two Cities by Charles Dickens. Now I'm actually hoping to still get to it. I might have mentioned it in one of my previous videos, but I have decided to dedicate the month of December to classics. The month of December is a very cold month literally, but it's a very warm month for me due to the holidays, my favorite time of the year. And I just feel that atmosphere of like sitting in a warm house with a blanket with you and some tea with you, that would be perfect for reading classics. So the only classic that at this moment I'm sure I will be including in my December TBR is A Tale of Two Cities by Charles Dickens. Now I love Charles Dickens. I have read Great Expectations by him, Oliver Twist, Hard Times, and David Copperfield. And I'm very much excited about getting started on A Tale of Two Cities. So I don't know much about A Tale of Two Cities, to be honest. I go into most Charles Dickens books, well actually I go into most books in general, not knowing too much about them. Fantasy I like to know a lot because I like to prevent myself from reading the same over and over, so I like to see a bit like, what is this plotline? Is this going to be something that I've already read? Is this going to be YA fantasy, which is less of my thing recently? But so, A Tale of Two Cities, the only thing I really know is that it has this super famous first line: it was the best of times, it was the worst of times. But I always like Dickens's work because he has a very rich range of characters in all of his books. But so yeah, it's a very rich world, and it's you absolutely love the characters, but also at certain times you will be frustrated with the characters, which is, it's a testament to great storyline and great character description, because yeah, this is the same with all people, you know. People do stuff that you see is not good for them, but it's good for their character development. Then I would definitely say go ahead and start with this. Don't wait. It's a monstrous book. It's this edition, so the mass market paperback. I know the other ones are a little bit smaller. Is 1,250 pages, so yeah, it is daunting, but you absolutely fly through it. This might have taken me close to a month, but it was also still in my reader slump period. The sequel took me 2 weeks and is even thicker than this one is, so don't be scared, just do it. Fourth book on my list is, I might actually try and squeeze this one in November, because I really wanted to read it for a while. and that's War by Laszlo Krasznahorkai. I absolutely love these editions. So there are multiple books by this author out, and they all have this beautiful black edition with like very sleek, very minimalistic, so I absolutely love it. I don't know much about it. I know that his writing has been acclaimed as being so. I don't know much about it. It's an Hungarian author, and I hear that the writing is very beautiful. And I'm assuming that it's about war, but yeah, this beautiful cover is probably the reason that I bought this one. Plus the fact that it said that it was such a good author. But yeah, I'm very intrigued and I want to give it a go. So maybe I can squeeze it in November. We'll see. I have no plans for my November TBR. Well, I have some plans for my November TBR, but no fixed idea yet on what I want to be reading. So it's difficult to describe this book. Just need to go into it and see for yourself. If you've never read fantasy before, it might be difficult, so please note that I mean, a seasoned reader like myself also does not understand everything from the get-go, but I have no problems with that. If you have problems with reading something and like having to read through it, not really knowing what the big story is at first, then I would recommend starting with something else by Sanderson maybe first, or another fantasy of course. If you don't mind like going in blind and being a bit confused for a while, it can still end up in there, so maybe. Next one, so we're on our 5th book now, is one that I have already read, and that is Dragon Teeth by Michael, I should say the American way, it's an American author, Michael Crichton. This is the author of Jurassic Park. You can see there's a nice dinosaur. You can see there's a nice dinosaur on the cover. However, dinosaurs are not very prominent in the story, so do not buy it thinking like, this will be the next Jurassic Park. If you haven't read Jurassic Park, read it. My mission in life, getting people to read Jurassic Park. Yeah, so the story. So we are not following, there's no live dinosaur walking around, but we are following people who are digging for dinosaur bones. And so this student in college makes this bet with like his rival that he will go out and join an expedition to dig for dinosaur bones. But he ends up twisted in this sort of rivalry between two professors. So he joins the expedition under one professor, but he has this giant rivalry with another professor who is also digging for bones, and he's very paranoid and constantly suspecting that the student is actually in league with the other professor, and so the adventure ensues from there. I liked it. I mean, it's not on the level of Jurassic Park. I have read a lot of Michael Crichton in the meantime, and I absolutely love his writing style. I enjoy every one of his reads. I mean, maybe I didn't like Congo that much, but most of his books are very enjoyable at the very least. You fly through it quite quickly, but the Jurassic Park level, yeah, it's only Jurassic Park that's at that level. None of his other books have gotten there, to my opinion. Disclosure might have gotten close to the Jurassic Park level. But yeah, it was an enjoyable read nonetheless. On to the 6th book. This is actually in one of my wrap-ups, I guess the August wrap-up. The rest of us just live here by Patrick Ness. This was actually not on my to-read list, this was not on my shelf for like ages or anything like that. It was on there quite recently, but I included a couple of more light, fast-paced reads onto my TBR just to make sure that I could get through it, which in the end I'm not going to be able to do, but I mean, at least I got through this one. So full thoughts on this book you can find there. I enjoyed it, but I wasn't blown away by it or anything like that. The 7th book on the TBR is also one that I got to, and sadly part of the title has disappeared. What's this? This was not an enjoyable read. This is the Dutch version, but in English this is The Discovery of Heaven by Harry Mulish. It is a Dutch classic. I think it might have also been voted like the greatest book in the Netherlands of all time, which it definitely wasn't for me. I mean, I really felt like I was reading a book by a by privileged white men, and I'm not saying that books by privileged white men cannot be enjoyable, but this definitely just felt like it felt so condescending, so egotistical, arrogance, and yeah, I mean, it's been lauded, it's received many prizes, but most of the conversations that take place in the book just totally escaped my comprehension, and there's like a role for a woman also in the book, but then her role gets silenced and things like that. Yeah, it really wasn't enjoyable. This was a book club read. I think we unanimously disliked this book. This third part of the book was also totally... The third part of this book also totally felt like it clashed with the rest of the novel. The rest of the novel seemed to be slow paced, and then the third part seemed to be suddenly moving into action. So yeah, for me, this one didn't do it. And I even see that like the Wall Street Journal has written a positive review on this, but yeah, this book just really didn't do it for me. Yeah, that's all I have to say about it, I guess. And then the final physical copy that I have with me is a book that I'm really hoping to put into my November TBR, because I really want to get to it. It's been on my shelf for a couple of years now, I'm guessing. I don't know, when was it published? It was published in 2015. I'm pretty sure I got it in 2015, and it's been sitting on my shelf ever since. And it's just been on so many lists since then as being like book of the year. Yeah, it has definitely been voted book of the year in a lot of cases. It was on the Man Booker Prize shortlist as well, I think. It did not win. And, I mean, I'm very inclined to put it as a top priority on my November TBR. I haven't decided yet, so it's possible that I will move it to 2019, not sure yet. The book I'm talking about is A Little Life by Hanya Yanagihara. I have read another book by Hanya Yanagihara. I wasn't blown away by it, so this book is on a lot of recommendations lists and things like that, but she has a previously published book, People in the Trees. And I mean, it's not like I didn't like it, it was so weird, you know. It was a type of read where afterwards you're confused about what you've just read. You're like, yeah, you just cannot wrap your head around it. I have another book that I read also this year, I think, that I also didn't give it a quotation just because I couldn't wrap my head around it. And People in the Trees is very much like that. Now, the People in the Trees seems to be very different from A Little Life. I don't know a lot about A Little Life, but you follow, I think mostly you follow people in like New York, or at least in a normal setting, and People in the Trees is a sort of like, you follow somebody on a research trip into the Amazon or some other remote area of the world, and there they study this remote society that has been believed lost. So the setting is definitely already super different, so I'm sure the stories will be very different. But yeah, I'm very much looking forward to giving her a second chance as a writer, because yeah, it's not like the writing in People in the Trees was like had problems with the writing or anything like that, also not necessarily with the storyline. I just really couldn't make up my mind about whether I actually liked what I had just been reading or not. And so I hope to be able to make up my mind in this 700-page read about whether I enjoy her writing, yes or no, because at this point I'm just really not sure. But so yeah, I hope to be able to add it to my November TBR, but I haven't made up my mind yet about the November TBR, so I don't know. So there are a further 4 books that were on my 2018 TBR, but that I do not own. So there are 4 more books on my 2018 TBR, but of these I do not own the physical copy. I have some of them available on Kindle or audiobook. So the first one of these was Little Fires Everywhere by Celeste. I listened to this on audiobook. I listened to this actually while I was still going out running, and so whenever I would go for a run I would listen to it. This was a very enjoyable listen. I really liked the story, I liked the character development, the character descriptions. I liked how, you know, there isn't like a single good character. It's a very nuanced portrayal of people, and you're rooting for different characters, and characters might be on opposite sides of the central debate that is going on in the background of this story. So basically you have this sort of rivalry. It's not the correct word, but okay. You have, let's say, a rivalry between 2 families, which centers around the debate of what is happening on with a 3rd family, namely an Asian woman who had dropped off her baby at like the fire station, basically giving her away, but who regrets her decision and is fighting to regain parenthood of her child. And so the story basically centers around these 2 different families, a single mother and her daughter, and then a typical white American family, and their different opinions on this debate. You know, one family is friends with the mother who abandoned her child, the other family is friends with the parents who have adopted the child in the meantime. So there's definitely conflict of interest in that case already. But we also see how their backgrounds have a very important how they come into play into defining their actions and reactions in relation to, amongst other things, this story. I won't go too much into it. I might expand upon this in the 2018 wrap-up, but I don't know how much time I will be spending on each book in that one. But yeah, I definitely recommend it. I thought it was an enjoyable listen. It was fast-paced enough, but also it had a very high level of quality in terms of character development and character description, which I find very important. Second book on there is one... checking... Okay, so the 10th book I guess we're at now in my 2018 TBR is a book that I do not own yet, which is The Midnight Star by Mary Lou. It is part of the Young Elites trilogy. I have read the first book, 2 books in the Young Elites trilogy, and the 3rd one was not yet out at the time, so I read the first 2 relatively, probably like one after the other, maybe with a short period in between there. I liked them, not blown away by them, not necessarily in favor of all of the story developments that were taking place, but that sometimes is a good thing. So I was apparently hoping to wrap up this series this year, but that won't be happening now. In it we follow, well, it's been a very long time since I read this, we follow our main character, who is this girl who has the power to control illusions, so she can make people think that they're seeing things which aren't really there. Yeah, I'm not gonna say more because I really don't remember a lot. I think it was a very interesting power. It's a power that I don't see in a lot of fantasy. I mean, I don't think it will probably have been in some fantasy series, but it was always more like a side character. And it is very interesting to see how powerful the power of illusion could actually be. It's a power that I feel like, if it's been mentioned in other fantasy novels, was never really taken to this level. So in that case, or I at least find this novel to be very successful, because yeah, it's very interesting what you can do with this power, which I would have never thought of. Then the second to last book on the the second to last book on my TBR, so I guess the 11th book on my TBR for 2018 was The Dinner by Herman Koch, which is another Dutch book, so I don't know why I put it on there, because I usually just try to have one every year. I don't know much about this. There's a movie adaptation, but the author, like, either he walked out at the premiere or he didn't even go, because he very much disagrees with the way that the movie was adapted. It's basically about tensions between families over dinner, I think is what it is about. It is also one of the standard works in the Dutch language literary scene, so I do want to get to it. You know, it's a very polarizing book. You either love it or you hate it, so in that sense it's like a hit or miss. But maybe I will include it maybe on my 2019 list as the one Dutch book I need to get to in 2019. We'll see. And then the final book on there, yeah, so here's already a conflict for that 2019 TBR, because the final book on there is also a Dutch book. I don't know why I was including 3 Dutch books on my 2018 TBR. I have nothing strictly against Dutch books, I just don't like reading in the Dutch language that much. So I don't know why I was so ambitious to put 3 on there. So yeah, either one of these is gonna be on my 2019 TBR as the one Dutch book I will read that year, and maybe I'll get to a second one. And this one is Tonio, a requiem novel by A.F.Th. van der Heijden. And I might prefer to put this on there, but it also sounds like it's gonna be such a depressing read. So this is a book by the author about the death of his son, basically. So yeah, I mean, that's all I need to know to go into it. I don't know more about it. There's nothing more to know about it. So yeah, I'm expecting it to be very depressing, very emotional, very much a cry read. I'm very interested to read it because yeah, every once in a while you just want to be able to feel all the feels, I guess. So yeah, it might win out over The Dinner by Herman Koch. I mean, I've been saying I need to read a Herman Koch for a very long time, but I might just be more inclined to read Tonio. But so yeah, these are the 12 books on my 2018 TBR. I have for the moment read 5 of them. I'm hoping to get to the 6th one at least in December, and to maybe add one more into November. So we'll see at the end of the year how much I will actually get done. I hope you've enjoyed seeing my TBR, even though it's already almost the end of 2018. If you've read any of these books, please let me know your thoughts on them, whether I should try and squeeze them in 2018 or not, or yeah, which books you want to get to in 2018, even though we only have what is it, 2.5 months left at this point, and by the time you're seeing this, 2 months left, so yeah, whoa. Okay, yeah, this is getting depressing. I really need to get to my 2018 TBR, guys. Bye!